Welcome to Grind Industry Podcast. Well, me and my co-host Sean talk about personal and professional growth. Welcome back to Grind Industry Podcast. It's your boy Travis, Sean, and our guest Eddie from Second Chance Diner. So, Sean, how was your weekend, man?
It was good. Busy weekend. Daughter's birthday party. A lot of family in town, so it was awesome.
Nice. Eddie, how was your weekend, dude?
Good. This weekend I didn't have my daughter, so I worked at the diner. It's long work, but it was chores.
There you go.
That's all we do now,
The
dude.
grind up.
There you go. How often are you at that diner? How much of that life does it really take?
I mean, I'm there every single day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some days I'm only be there a few hours. At the bar, I got a little spot. They put 4 owners, so I do all like my office work there. I feel like when your presence is there, it just means more to your employees, whether you're on the floor or, some days I'm there 10, 12 hours on the floor with my employees. And then, some days during the week, you got all the back end stuff. So there's a lot to it, especially when you have a social media presence like I do, you have employees like I do, other businesses. There's a lot to accomplish in a week,
I get that.
So
What made you want to start a diner? I mean, dude, restaurants are a very hard business to try to stay afloat and start up. You know what I mean?
98% failure rate in the first 2 years.
That's what I mean.
So
You got to have your money right for sure.
Yeah. Gotta have your mind right.
and I did not have. So
Everyone asks this. So I was a barber for like a decade. I just reached my cap. You can only do so many haircuts in a day.
Right.
I wasn't, I wasn't happy anymore. I worked with a great group of guys. Like it was part of my recovery. I just got to a point. I just wasn't happy cutting hair anymore. I wanted something more. I walked in there one day and just said, this is my 2-month notice. I don't want to be a barber anymore. And they're like, you open your own barber shop? I'm like, no, I don't want to be a barber. Like, what are you doing? I have no idea. So every day I was on Facebook Marketplace. One day I stumbled upon Moe's Barbecue in Camillus. He was shutting down, putting the building up for rent. I used to go to diners every morning for breakfast. Carl's Country Kitchen on TLF. So I went down there and looked at it. It was November 15th, 2017. It was my ex's birthday. I was late to birthday dinner because I went and looked at the building. And I walked in and I had this gut drop feeling. Arm hair stood up. Shook the dude's hand. Said, I'll take it. Had no idea what I was going to do. The first couple weeks I thought like I'd maybe open a steakhouse I don't know. It didn't vibe. And then was going to do a diner. I was going to call it Eddie's Diner. And I've said this in the news before I had a drink. And that's how it became Second Chance Diner. And then, it took me 9 months to open. I went broke 3 times. Was this a spot in your Township 5 over there?
Yeah. Little 49C diners, one of the smallest diners in the town. Everything that could go wrong went wrong.
Oh my God.
Think about restaurants.
I remember that.
I never worked in a restaurant.
It was
It's usually how it goes when you start your first business. You have to done, man. It's just,
Explain that.
I've made every mistake in the book too. You know what I mean? Like,
Any tree branch you could hit on the way down,
Yep.
they grew limbs.
mhm,
I hit every
Been there.
and more.
Been there.
So not only did I never work in a restaurant before, I never owned my own business before.
So, I got in there was mold everywhere, and I ended up stripping the whole building down to literally brick walls. Ended up having to put a grease trap in, 20-something thousand. Renovations exceeded 6 figures. And at this point in my life, like when I opened, I had like 80 Lars in my safe from grinding every day, doing haircuts.
Right.
For years this is what a lot of people don't know. Before this, I lived in an apartment for 2.5 years. The bedrooms were so small, like mine and my ex's bedrooms were in the dining room. I rode a pedal bike everywhere for 2 years. Pedal bike.
That's one way to get your money up.
You know
what I mean?
Money to go to the dealership and buy something cash.
There you go.
Sacrifice.
Exactly. That's important. If you've got a dream that you foresee happening in your life, it will always take some sort of sacrifice. And I don't care whether it's downgrading, selling your car, selling 3/4 of what you own just to achieve that dream.
Level up.
You know what I mean? But it's nothing in this life worth having
Comes
comes easy and doesn't require sacrifice, man. You know?
I think sacrifice is one of the most like detrimental things to success that I think most people don't understand the amount of sacrifice it takes or that we go through.
Not at all.
People see the end picture. Oh, look where this kid's at now. But it's like, you know, the journey I've been on, I've questioned my sanity. I've questioned giving up. You know what I mean? And just never an option, but we're human. You know what I mean? That comes in your mind.
Yes, it does.
The amount of shit you deal with in a day sometimes is, you know, overwhelming. And as you grow, it becomes more and more. But I think you adjust mentally to the grind. You become part of the grind. It becomes part of your life. It becomes part of you. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Well, there's a point in every entrepreneur or business owner's life where they understand that you don't make your own hours. You don't get the freedom everybody thinks you get. You know, like it literally takes a part of you and it takes everything you've got if you want it to be successful. Because if you're going to come into this half-ass, you're going to get half-ass results every single time.
It's not a show, it'll show too.
Yeah. Oh, 100% it'll show. Now let's talk about like startup costs. You said you had to reno the building and all that. So let's just say that's done. You've already invested a huge chunk of money. Now you've got to buy all the food. You got to hire employees. You got to do all that too.
We're not talking equipment then?
Listen, this is
Oh, even equipment too. You know what I mean?
Where it's going to get wild.
all right. So this is like where the hustler in me comes into play. So I got all the equipment. 9 months I spent morning, noon, and night. I had a good boy, Joe, helped me after work. He helped me like a big portion of the construction. But I was literally there. And there were sometimes sun was coming up, 7 o'clock in the morning, and I'm going home 2 hours of sleep, coming back. Like,
Right.
I never worked so much in my entire life in those 9 months.
Yeah.
I questioned if I was going to finish. Like, I remember I went flat broke. And my boy let me borrow 30 bands. That's how I finished opening. My little brother helped me. I got into that a while ago. So then I'm about a week away from opening. Health department comes, pass everything. I got to buy food, right? So I was working with Renzi and JFS.
Mhm.
So my first order, because you got to fill everything, was going to be 20 bands. I had $400 left in my bank account. Didn't tell no one. You can't tell your girl. You can't.
No.
People get scared when the money.
You got to keep that inside, man.
We had a home.
Yeah, figure that shit on the low.
Yeah, I think it's just men's mentality.
Like,
You know,
just
we
gonna
had
add
spot on
me,
up when we was like, yo, we're gonna figure that out.
Me, like with my ex, it was always, I always wanted her to be comfortable. She, I don't want you to see that stress. I was
Nope.
in my stomach. I'm like, I
Yep.
got no one else to borrow. I don't want to borrow. I didn't want to borrow anything from anyone to begin with.
Right.
I'm at the finish line and about to throw a flag. So I sat down with one rep and I was like, listen, he's like, I go, I'm working with JFS. They're going to give me 2 weeks to pay for my order. So I'm going to work with them. He's like, well, I thought we were your number one supplier. I'm like, listen, man, like, it's just about money. They're going to give me 2 weeks. He's like, well, what if we give you 2 weeks? I was like, all right. So what I did was I split the order up between the two businesses,
So
No,
less
I
per
flew-
company.
but I didn't have to pay for it for 2 weeks.
Right.
So I got the doors open.
Yep.
So I worked both companies against each other. And really, neither of them were going to give me, both of them were COD. So I was like, I can't work with you. They're going to give me 2 weeks. So I'm like, well, let me call my boss and do this and do that. So I got both companies to give me 2 weeks. And I ordered, say 10 bands each from each company, got the food. And I was blessed because the day I opened the doors, lines out the door.
That's awesome.
Most people can't say that.
No.
So,
Lines out the door.
so you're saying food only, you need to be looking around 20 bands
That was just,
for startup?
yeah, because you got to,
And about how long would that 20 bands get you? Is that like
You gotta
2 weeks
place
worth of
another order.
food? Is that about a week's worth of food?
at that time, a food order per week was about, I'd say 6 to 8,000. Back then, I was 49 seats. I would say 6, 8,000. But you got to think it's so big because you have all that stock
I mean, things you're not using every single day.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
gotta have, you know what I mean? And you're kind of guessing. You don't know what, you know what I mean, you're gonna need or what you're gonna go through. And I had opened 72 hours prior to the rent being due on the building, my house mortgage, vehicle payments, like I had everything to lose. And yeah, dude, from day one, lines out the door. And I outgrew the space in about 3 months. As crazy as it is.
That's awesome.
Because I had so much invested.
I was just gonna ask that. What, real quick, because you're renting the property, correct?
I was renting the property.
So you're investing all that money because you need to get up and going. What happens when you leave? Is that just an L right there?
It's a hell. So like you're gonna
Like, how do you take the? How do you accept it when you know it's time?
okay, so here's
Because you don't ever want to start off too big, I would think.
No, I know if you're investing still that money low, and then you leave it because you didn't own it.
that money, but even though
You didn't own it though. That's what I'm saying. My rent there was.
were you able to still take out some of the like the fryers and stuff?
Well,
so I took all the equipment.
yeah.
Okay, so there you go. You know what I mean? It's not a full L.
So it was here's the thing, it was a full circle moment. So I was there 2 years on a 5-year lease.
That's not
The
bad.
rent was $1,200. Okay. I had outgrown the place. I'm a businessman.
It seems cheap.
So Friendly's up the road, you know, it's 3 times the size, but the rent there was $7,400 a month.
Mm-hmm.
I seen an opportunity. I'm like, okay, I was say 150,000 invested into it, but you're buying way more shit as the business opens. Like,
Yeah.
I spent 50 bands on equipment like 6 months before I moved.
Right.
So you got to look at growth in numbers. Restaurants run on margins, right?
100%.
Remember my best year there, I did 600,000 for the year, right? And a lot of it was owner operated. I had my ex helping me, I started getting into real estate flipping. And then she kind of stepped into the business a little more. So, my margins were higher. But then I started getting into investing in other shit. So I seen the opportunity there, and I'm an opportunist. So, she's like, we're good here.
Yeah.
That's just too big, blah, blah, blah. I was always the visionary. So, yeah, I went up there, shook the dude's hand. At this point though, like I said, I was flipping houses, stacking money. Like I didn't buy in these 2 years. I didn't buy anything extravagant. It was all about the business. It was all about reinvesting. It was all about hustling. Started getting into crypto, like a lot of different things. You know what I mean?
It's definitely important to diversify.
So my mentor always said that if you want to be a millionaire, that you got to have at least 7 sources of income.
100%.
So, having the diner is my only thing. I didn't know if it was going to flop.
Right.
It was busy.
But you never know.
But then when I see how busy it was, you see all these people. So I would sit in the parking lot, right? And I would watch how many people would drive away because the wait was so long. To me, that's dollar signs.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
If I ever want to watch dollar signs not even disappear, right?
You sit there and watch that shit.
And I want to give that experience. When I realized I outgrew it, my wheels were spinning. There was a Mexican spot. It had lost its liquor license and it had shut down because I wanted the spot. And then some Mexican place took it. And I was like, it closed down after like 7 months. They lost their liquor license. And I was like,
It happens so often.
right? So another thing I'm big on is everything that's put in front of your face, how it's supposed to, you have to recognize those signs, but I don't believe in coincidence. It's one of my biggest.
It's always the signs.
You know what I mean? I look at the signs and then, I don't ignore them.
No. I mean, we've said it about 6 times already on this podcast so far, but everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
It's already tatted on my arm.
It's crazy how we think about it.
Every single thing happens for a reason. Whether it's a bad thing and you don't even want to wake up the next morning, or it's an amazing thing because you're waking up the next morning to go get your brand new sports car. Every single thing lines up and everything happens for a reason. And you may not understand that reason yet, but you will. Every single time. I don't know that a single time I never got it.
My best friend passed years ago, and I get a lot of signs from him and stuff. And it's just very important to recognize them and not push them to the side.
100%.
Because I feel like that's a catalyst for a lot of my success. So, I went and called the dude. I was at this building for like a couple of years at this point, and I had called the dude, and I had to get out of the sublease. So I'm still, now I'm taking.
I got 3 years left, right?
7,500. I got 3 years left on a $1,200 monthly.
Yeah. So what are you doing?
I'm jumping 7,500. That scares the dog shit.
Well, yeah.
And then I got another renovation. So now I have an idea. Now at this point, I'm not good, or I'm not good, but I'm better. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
I learned my lessons in the first one. I got a good idea of things. I'm a restaurant guy now, but I'm still a young buck. Still 11 years in the industry. It's a lot to learn in this game.
Tons.
So I had an idea. I knew what my budget would be. At this point, I had gotten into construction, renovating houses. So I was a lot more educated. So jump, boom, I jump. Sign a 5-year lease. Shake this dude's hand. My ex is like, "Fuck it, let's do it. We're in for a ride." But like I said, I brought a lot of the equipment with me and stuff. A lot of stuff I had to get bigger because you're in a bigger kitchen. You're serving more people.
Yep.
I had to buy all brand new booth tables and chairs. Those were $46,000, just
Yep.
booth tables and chairs. Ended up costing me about 175 bands to open there. I put the old place up for sale. Just the contents of the build out and the business. I had a bunch of people, long story short, I ended up for 50,000. I ended up I had this lady who wanted to open up an Italian spot, whatever. Just, I don't know. The vibes, I'm an energy person.
Right.
So I met this couple. They owned the mixing bowl. When I had met them, they were working in a ghost kitchen, and I just had seen the starting version of myself in them,
Mhm.
and like their passion, and they looked at me and they're like, we're getting a bank loan. You can only get $25,000. And I said, you know what? They're like, maybe we set up a payment plan for the other 25. I go, you're a new business. I don't want to put you in more debt than you need to. I ended up selling them with that entire business for $25,000. Grease trap cost me that.
Yeah. But that's karma that will come back to you. And I'm assuming if it hasn't already, it's coming quick because, you know what I mean? I'm a firm believer in karma as well. If you're willing to help people out, it will come back to you.
Yeah.
If you're an asshole throughout life, you're just going to get treated like an asshole the rest of your life. You know what I mean? Like I'm a big believer in karma.
100%. I still have people out there who will think I'm an asshole because, they'll hold on to a version of me 20 years ago that doesn't exist.
You can't change everybody's opinion, man. No.
But
You'll always have a parent.
ass, and to this day, so that was almost 7 years ago. They're still in that building. They're one of those thriving bakeries. They're two successful business owners that now make a living off of basically the chance that I gave them. I'm not going to take away any of the hard work, the great business they run, but being able to do that was great. And then building 2 was the same thing. I outgrew it in 3 months,
100%.
but I was in a 5-year lease and a lot of money invested.
How long did you stay there? How many years?
I was 3 months short of 5 years, but I had nowhere to go. You know what I mean? Like, I had to be in Camillus.
Right.
So the Good Buddies building I'm in now, I drove by that every day for 2 years. It was vacant for 2 years. I drove by it every day, manifesting it.
Good buddies. I think when I did granite, I did that bar in all granite. I'm the one that installed that granite at that place. So if it's the same place in Camillus, Good Buddies used to
And big black piers, like they're wood, I painted them.
Yep.
It's got a whole black, it's a speckled granite bar. It's
has a small little outdoor section on the right side of the building, or it used to.
Yes.
Yep, same place. Yep, I did when I used to do granite. I installed your entire bar.
So real quick, back to the second location. So you got your liquor license when you're in the second location,
That was the
correct?
hardest thing I ever did in my life.
Well, that's what I was going to ask.
They say
I've heard that.
They say a liquor license is second to the bar exam.
And it's okay.
Dude, the paperwork is this big.
Yeah.
And I don't have the best background.
I know. That's what I was going to ask.
I had a lawyer who advocated for me. I got it. So at that one, we had the bar, introduced the liquor license, new menu. Here's the thing with me. I'm always evolving. I still have every version of my menu I have.
Yeah. So like when I look at menu 1 and then I look at the menu I just printed 3 weeks ago, it's like the evolution is crazy.
I feel like you have to be nowadays.
I don't know if I've ever been to a diner that allows alcohol. Like, I mean, yeah, cool. You get a mimosa here and there, but you're like,
You have a lot of these diners have been the same thing for 20. There's nothing wrong
look at
with
the
that.
Beeville Diner. The Beeville Diner's been the same, and it's even changed owners threefold, I believe, as long as I've been alive.
There's nothing wrong with
No. I mean, what's working is working.
Introduce
but
something
You can
new,
always
yeah.
make it a little bit bigger or better or change things, but also you might lose your older clientele if you do make that change.
So like with me, I feel like if you want to grow, right? If you're still doing the same thing and you've reached, let's call it, you don't want to call it stagnant because you're still successful, right?
Right.
But if you've reached this place of your ceiling, right? What do you have to do to keep evolving to raise your ceiling, right? Success is a ceiling, right? You can do add-ons till you're punching your head through that ceiling and raising it. That's where your success begins to elevate, right?
Let me ask you this. When it comes to dreaming, do you dream in steps or do you dream as big as you can and work your way to that point? Because in my head,
You got to see the end,
I-
right? But
see, me, I shoot for the star or shoot for the moon and maybe I'll catch a star. I don't shoot for the clouds and I'm not going to catch my footing on that cloud. You see what I mean? Like when it's me, I know my end goal. I can tell you what we talked about Tate earlier, right? What does he tell you to do? He tells you to plan out your absolute dream future. And don't just say, I want a mansion. Say, how many bedrooms? What color car you want? What brand? Where is that house? Is it on the lake or is it in the mountains? What city, what country, all this stuff. So
Like really
to
manifest
me,
it.
yeah, well, it's giving yourself a goal. I wouldn't say
Right.
manifesting. I would say it's giving yourself a legit goal to work towards and just saying, oh, I want a mansion in Florida with a boat and a really nice car. You don't know what you're working for because you don't know the price of that boat.
Right.
You don't know the price of that car. You don't know how many bedrooms. You don't know all that stuff. So it's always fun to talk to other business owners who have large dreams. Do you do yours in steps? Or do you have an end goal that you know what you're working towards?
okay, so the biggest thing my mentor has taught me is setting realistic expectations, right? But when you learn your boundaries and what you're capable of, to me, if another man can accomplish it, so can I. What's
Exactly.
for me, right?
Exactly.
So when I look at my goals, my vision board is wild, and I have things I've been working for years that in the coming weeks are about to come to fruition. Things I drove by for years or things that have been on my board for years. But every week, every day, every month, I'm slowly getting to that goal because, a lot of these things take a lot of capital, a lot of risk, a lot of unknown.
Planning.
That's, believe it or not, that's my high. I love it.
No,
That's what keeps me going.
For sure.
I mean, you want to bet on me? You think I'm going to fail? Okay, well, watch this.
Well, one of my favorite things to say is you're not successful until you have haters, right? Because if you don't have haters, that means you're not doing things correctly. You're not doing something worth hating on. Now, I mean, let's just touch on that real quick. All of us have had a hater in some way, shape, or form, always trying to sit there and tell us we're doing everything wrong or that they don't care or, whatever it is. And
they don't even know the version of you that exists.
No,
they
they
hold
just-
a version of you in their mind that they want to exist.
Mhm.
And they know what they see on social media. Like they don't know us.
No. No, it's really easy to just look through the window and hate on somebody, but it's real hard to hate on somebody once you actually get their background, how hard they worked, everything that we've done to be where we're at. Didn't happen overnight, and it wasn't from daddy's money. So, you know what I mean? You got three men here sitting here that nothing was handed to us.
Nothing.
We built every fucking thing we have, and it was through grit and grind, and I think that's what's important.
The amount of people I've helped along the way, they're in a better position in life. Like, if you weren't a hater, like, I will literally sit down and help anyone, give them any amount of, dude, let's stop talking about success for a second. Let's talk about the losses it took us.
You know,
Be successful.
yeah,
right?
for sure. We've all had them.
Right? So, like, we're talking about, moving businesses and elevating but all we've been doing is talking about steps forward. How many of us have take steps backwards, right?
Right.
So like in the midst of my success, I won't get crazy into it, but me and my ex like put me through some crazy wild shit. And dude, I almost lost the whole business. I almost lost the entire business. I almost went bankrupt. I had my manager steal $100,000 in cash from me. I had her not file $76,000 worth of sales tax. I was in a very rough place in my mind due to the circumstances I was put in. I stopped caring about the business. I didn't step foot in the building for 7 months. I almost lost my entire livelihood. And no one talks about, we may make it look easy and that, everything that has come our way was, simple and people see the picture. They don't see the process.
No,
right?
no.
And I think it's very, very important that the process is what made the picture. The process is what makes us.
Mm-hmm.
I am as strong and as smart and as driven as I am because of my failures. Failure is the conduit to success. And I think a lot of people don't understand the strength in failure. I've failed many times. I'm not scared to admit that.
One of the biggest things I tell my employees and myself is don't let a failure or a mistake stay a failure and mistake. Turn it into a lesson. I'm not mad at you because you made a mistake, but I'm going to be mad at you when you make that same mistake a second time because you didn't turn it into a lesson. You didn't do what I asked you to do. Now, I'm not going to sit here. I'm not going to yell at you. I'm not going to berate you. That's not who I am as a boss. But again, I ask that you turn that mistake into a lesson and learn from it so that we can become better as we progress, right? And it's just so important to always learn from your mistakes. We've all heard it since we were children, but it seems like there's so many people that don't want to do that. It's too easy to say, oh, I made a mistake, sorry. And then they do the same thing the next week. And it's like, well, now it's not a mistake. Now you're doing that shit on purpose.
It's insanity is what it is.
100%.
And I think another key thing is, yes, I'm a boss, but first and foremost, I'm a mentor, right? I lead a team, and I don't care what anyone says. The power of your pack is what keeps that power of that trajectory of that business, moving at the momentum you move at. If you're not a great leader, right, and you don't lead the people that you have, not even below you, beside you,
Mm-hmm. 100%.
you don't lead these people beside you to be better themselves, right? Your whole life, your businesses, everything will become stagnant. It will fail or it will go backwards.
To me, it always boils down to wolf mentality, right? Don't be a sheep. Do what I'm saying, but we are a pack together. We're a family. If you have an issue, come to me. We'll talk about it. We will have a legit adult conversation. And in the end, you're either going to agree with me or I'm going to agree with you. And I'm going to say you had a great idea, but we're going to move on. But it's always the leader, the boss needs to have the wolf mentality of this is my family. This isn't somebody that I own, somebody I can just boss around and treat like shit, because your entire business, everything you've built, is right now on the legs of those people that are working for you. And I'll never say below you. I will say working for you as your team. They're not below you.
Nope.
They are honestly holding everything you built up. And if you want to kick their legs out, just watch your business crumble every single time.
Your employees is as a leg to the foundation.
That's
of the
it.
business.
Yeah. They're just as important as you are.
And if you can't build them up, right, the foundation never grows.
Correct.
Right? And
Correct.
One thing I take immense pride in is my staff will tell me this is the best place I ever worked. This is the best boss I've ever had. And to also watch, like, I get immense pride in seeing other people do well. You know, I don't know what it is. I love to watch people succeed. Love to watch people do, like, who wants to see someone in a bad spot, right? You got to be real twisted.
You got to be a psychopath if you get enjoyment out of that. You know,
I really do. Like, it's heartwarming for me, especially when I'm part of that path and I can help lead someone. Like, you can lead a horse to water, you can't make them drink, but when you help lead someone to a path and then you look back and
you watch them drink. That's the best.
I have a staff member who was with me, been with me 8 years. When I met her, she was homeless on a couch in North Carolina and paid for her fucking ticket to get back here. Now I look at her, she's, owns rental properties. Her life is better if she makes, insane money. She's happy. I'm hopefully about to get her to buy her own personal home. And this goes for other staff too, like helping them buy cars and just.
I was literally just thinking about that because you're watching them every day. You're seeing them every year prosper. They're growing just as well as you are. And that feeling, people don't even know that feeling though that you get, because a lot of people don't get that feeling. But when you see that they're elevating, they might buy a bigger house because they have more kids now. And you know that the steady income from your business is that reason. It's not because you handed them anything, but you provided steady income. You kept people coming in. Like, they don't get.
Bust their ass, and then they'll watch them be able to buy new cars and move into their own apartment.
Give their kids birthday parties, little things like that.
Life they've never had. Business that you guys have built together. You know what I mean? Like, this new location I'm in, I went broke several times opening that too. Like, that was over $500,000 endeavor, but the biggest diner in Central New York now. And I've outgrown that building, and I'll book dizzy every day. But I owe that to my staff who show up every day. Yes, I'm the best boss. I'm the best leader. I keep the business evolving. I do things that keep the business busy, because when the business is busy, it keeps their pockets full. It keeps, everything running. But the growth I've seen in my team from day one it's not just me, it's a whole pack of us. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And I've just begun.
Now, when it came to opening up diners and whatnot, how long until you actually started to see true profit? Because we know that restaurants, again, when you open a restaurant, you better have at least 2 years worth to pay the bills, buy the food, do everything before you even can expect $1 in your pocket.
I was gonna say, but there's people like him though that went totally against that, and
that's what I mean.
That's
what I mean. So on average, we know it's about, you want to give it about 2 years. So, but that's most restaurants. A restaurant is different than a diner.
Right.
I mean,
I don't though, because here's the thing.
You don't think a restaurant's different than a diner? Like, if I opened a fine dining, let's not even say me. You open a fine dining restaurant.
And I would be one of the busiest.
I'm not doubting you'd succeed. I'm just wondering, would the profit come faster or not as fast as your diner?
Probably faster.
I feel like those meals are more expensive.
Tickets.
Yeah.
True, but you got a more niche people coming in.
In any business though, right? Location. How many tickets? Location is key. I'll give you that. But it's how many people walk through that door every day. Mm-hmm. How do you drive traffic? I don't care what business it is, because in the end of the day, I own a restaurant, right? Like, we could define it as a diner, whether it was...
No, diner's still a restaurant. I'm not trying to downgrade what you've done, so don't take it. I didn't mean it that way.
Yeah, but I want to put it, categorize it as a whole, and you're going to understand why, right? When I opened, my mentor told me, if people are going to wait, right? If you have a wait, why are they going to wait for you and not go somewhere else?
Because the food's good. Would be my answer.
Me, my mentality was, I'm going to build a menu.
The selection. I knew he was going to say that.
Okay.
So what I have to...
So you're making it exclusive.
You can't get anywhere else. You have to wait.
You want that Fruity Pebble milkshake, you waiting, boy.
I was the first one, dude, in 2018, beginning of late 2017, 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm infusing cereal and pancakes in my kitchen. Like, I was the first one to bring that to the game.
Oh, yeah, when you're testing all this shit out.
And also, like me, you got to be different. Everyone was doing French toast at the time. My mentor told me, you want to be different. What makes them stick? So if I open an Italian restaurant, my menu wouldn't look like anyone else's around here, because I've captured
what an audience loves. I captured how to bring people in. I captured, what people like. And I think that is very hard. And now I'm to the point, I have people mimicking me. I have people looking at my success and how I'm busy. A kid who knew nothing of the game, kid who never worked in a restaurant a day in his life. People have been doing this 10, 20 years now, getting liquor licenses. People who've been in this 40, 50 years now imitating things off my menu. And I'll have people like, they'll look at so-and-so. Me, I look at that as like, I'm humbled.
Of course.
You can't.
You started it.
You can't replicate what I do. You can try,
Yeah.
right? You may do a version of Fruity Pebble pancakes, right? But they're never going to be as good as mine. And I don't say that in cockiness. I say that in confidence, right? Like,
Right.
my restaurant speaks volumes.
Yeah.
And to see other people do that, like, a lot of people want to hate that. Like, oh, you're not mad. Look at this. This guy's this and this. I mean, I'm glad that I've inspired you to want to do better in your own restaurant. Right. I have no hate in my body. To know that I'm doing something so different, right? And so great. I'm inspiring people that have been doing this longer than me, to want to change their game. That to me speaks volumes.
But you know why though? Because they see it work for you, so they know it would work for them. And that's sort of like not always, but it's sort of like what you said. If that person can do it, then nothing would stop me from being able to do it.
And it's
Well, you're not losing anything. Like,
they have the recipe or the sauce.
No. No, I mean, just look at Chicken Riggies, right? Everybody knows you go to Utica to get the real Riggies, but there's 6 restaurants around here that can make Riggies, but it's not the same as going up to Utica and getting it the legit way. It's the same thing. I mean, there's 16 places in Rochester that can make garbage plates, but unless you go into Nick Tahoe's, you ain't getting a fucking garbage plate, right? That's just how it goes,
They are that's why you feel like I have become the staple to a lot of,
which is awesome. That's what makes you're so successful. Yeah.
I think that has been a big ticket, and I'm never scared to grow. I'm like moving into this big building. Everyone said I'd fail. It's too big for a diner. Nobody can afford that rent. I've 10x my business.
It's a big restaurant too. I've been in there several times. That's a big
I'm in the
restaurant.
middle of doing a 2,000 square foot addition.
That's amazing. Like
I heard about that.
That's killer. But I mean, to have that be a diner, because when you think diner, you think small. You think
that's
you know what I mean. And to have Goodies turn into a fucking diner, turn into second chance, that's crazy, dude. Because that is a big, and that's a huge bar.
Huge.
I mean, that bar.
6 feet.
Yeah, I was about
I
to say
thought it was bigger
that's
than
a
most
giant L bar. Like that is a massive.
I definitely
fucking
get diner vibes in there, but it's just a whole different vibe.
But that's what makes it different. That's what makes it unique. That's
my
awesome.
own vibe.
Yeah.
That's good.
I don't follow an agenda.
Again, stop. Don't be a sheep.
Anyone else.
Right?
I have other people out there that are, I stay in my own world. I don't look at what anyone else is doing. My vision is my bubble.
Yeah.
That's all I worry about, and that's all I focus on.
Again,
if other people are inspired by that, that makes me feel good.
never be afraid to venture off that path. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with that.
No, I never had a strict agenda on anything. When I started getting into real estate investing, my first 2 houses, I lost fucking 30 grand on the first one and 40 grand on the second.
It's so easy to want to turn into an interior designer and spend so much money.
You ain't
Like, how many people I run into that are like, oh, hey, we just bought this house. I want to flip it. And they come in at me and they're like, I want to put a granite sink in. And I'm like, no, you want a stainless steel sink. You want a nice countertop. You want not cheap, but kind of cheap cabinets. You know what I mean? Like, don't go all out being an interior designer because you want to work for HGTV. That's not what this is.
The powerful words I ever heard. My mentor told me, he said, stop building homes. You're never going to live.
Yeah, you don't build.
Well, put your touch
You
on it
don't
like
build them because you like them. You make them livable. That's it. You make them livable because the other person who's coming in is going to make it their own. So just because that's what you saw, oh yeah, no, you're not.
I went overboard.
Yeah, no, it's so easy. You know how many people I run into that go overboard, man?
I was building houses that I wanted to live.
100%, and it's so easy to do that. You have no idea how many people I run into that are like, well, I would really like this. Okay, that's great. You want gray with wavy subway tile. Most people don't like that. Let's just go white subway tile. It's $1.50 cheaper per tile. You know what I mean? But
Or let's
again,
rock
it's
and let them do that.
100%, 100%. But
There's-
it's just so easy when you're flipping a house to think this is what I would like, and that's not the way to flip a house. So you flip a house
backwards.
not as cheap as you can, but you do it as livable
Yeah.
and as upscale as you can, and as neutral. Let's not even say upscale. Let's just say as neutral as you can. Because when it's neutral, people will come in and say, okay, I'm going to change the color of these walls. I'm going to do this to this kitchen. But you've created the blank canvas for them.
Yep.
When you make it all something you want, now it's, oh my God, I'm going to have to demo that tile that they just put in because I don't like that tile. And, oh, I didn't like that breakfast bar they put in. So now I've got to drywall that over. Like, it's all these little things that'll nickel and dime you to death.
Simplicity. And then
Yep.
I also learned
Keep it neutral.
buying. So, like,
Oh, yeah.
you know, I
Yep.
have probably 30,000 square feet of flooring, dozen fridges, stoves, farmhouse sink. I mean, I keep going and going. But me putting all that money up and storing that stuff, now I can get better prices on things. So, you can give the client that's buying a home a little nicer of a house, but not go overboard.
100%.
Right.
You gotta learn budgets,
Always got to remember that bottom line.
kitchen and all the things you're not going to see once walls start coming down. And there's a lot to it, but that's another thing I do truly enjoy. I love the transformation, but it's not as easy as everyone thinks.
No.
It's
No.
not.
Everybody's like, oh, look what
You guys make it look
HGTV
easy.
did in 3 days. No, that actually
No.
took probably 3 months.
Yeah, 3
You know what I mean? Like, you don't get it. But it's just things in life. It's very easy for business adventures and things in life to get away from you and just snowball
Mhm.
like a motherfucker, dude. It's so easy.
So when it comes to real estate, how much has that been a help to just help fund your ideas and your plans?
Funded a lot of it. You have with real estate, right? You have equity through inflation. You also add in your sweat equity. And then, I'm buying distressed houses, so they're under market value at cost, right? And then I'm renovating them, and, my all-in is under market value. So you have that equity. Me, I don't refinance. I don't do anything. Like, those are my rainy days. I rent them out. I do whatever. And then when I get in a situation where I might need cash, you got 150,000 of positive cash flow or equity, and that's a big chunk. I think a lot of people misconstrue. Asset wealth with liquid wealth. To be a millionaire asset wise, I mean, it doesn't take much.
Oh, that's easy. Yeah.
Couple
Cars, material, cars, house, that any
liquid.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. What you got in the
They
bank,
say
what you could come up with today.
They say that 1% of millionaires can come up with $1 million liquid in 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
1%.
1% of
That's
millionaires.
because what they're doing is going to banks and getting their money. Like Elon, right? He's worth billions. He doesn't have billions
know he
in the
doesn't.
bank. What he does is he's got billions in stocks. So he'll go to a bank and say, I need 1.2 million. I need let's just go even higher, $1.2 billion, because he's worth almost $1 trillion now. And what he does is he levies his stocks against what he's borrowing, and then they give him money, which is tax-free, because any loan is completely tax-free, and then he can go spend that on whatever the fuck he wants. And then all he has to do is either just sell off some stocks or just give back he just has to pay back what he did at a very low interest rate.
So this is a good point. So I think let's talk a second about the power of money, right? Like, once you have it, knowing what to do with it. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Using it as a tool.
Flipping houses, I roll them into 1031 exchanges. And here's the other thing, right? A lot of people are lazy to retain knowledge. The smarter you are, the more you know, the better you're going to do. I've read
100%.
books,
100%.
thousands of hours.
You see, I mean, there's self-help books. There,
I've read everything from mental health
I got 'em all.
to self-help to relationships to businesses to
we all know the main prison books, Power and the Machiavelli. You know what I mean? Like, I've got them all sitting right over there. The Art of War. It's all the same shit. We all, it's just,
You know, once
they're
you
important.
have money, it's, you know, what to do with it. You know,
Yeah.
anyone can go buy,
Responsibly, yeah.
you know, anyone can go buy fancy cars and jewelry. Like, you know, I may have this, but I hit a very large milestone in my life to acquire this. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
you couldn't give me 200 grand. This is probably worth, you know, 40 bands, right? You couldn't give me 200 because of what this represents to me. And I don't wear it all the time, but it represents a milestone in my life that I hit, you know, liquid. And, you know, getting smart and learning how to maneuver your money and keep rolling your money into real estate. And, you know, the power of 1031 exchanges and universal index lives and S&P and 500s and the stock market and cryptocurrency. And, you know, there's, you know, some of those things you can borrow your own money without being taxed or fined and put your money right back when you got it again. Like,
100%.
power of leverage and leveraging your own money without, you know, having to, you know, put a ripple in what you're trying to build. Like, money is strategic.
Yep.
You have to be strategic with your money. Anyone can make money and go blow it.
And money isn't what you can hold in your hand. Money is what you can prove you have. And I was actually just telling him a couple of weeks ago about the S&P 500, that it is actually the smartest way to ever put your money, because in a bank, you'll maybe get 0.6% interest.
Yeah, you know, banks is the worst
Whereas
for your money.
the
Right.
S&P 500 on average makes between 8 and 10% interest on a yearly basis. So if you're going to put all your savings in something, it shouldn't be in a bank.
Right.
It should be in the S&P 500, because on average, you're going to get an 8 to 10% return on what you put in it. So it's just
to invest in stocks.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
There's
And
a
now
lot.
crypto's a little bit riskier, but it has a higher reward.
You got to learn. Crypto took years, you know.
Yeah, you've got to understand.
And I'm not
Yep.
as into it as much anymore. I was real heavy into it. You know, that's actually where I hit my first 7 figures was crypto.
Mhm.
But you lose a lot of it too.
Oh, yeah.
7 figures.
Yep.
You know, so
Well, you've got to just like a casino, Sean. You got to be willing to throw
I know.
that 100,000 on the table
but
to turn that 100,000 into so much more.
I've made out a 1,000-fold.
Substantial, you know, yeah.
But your safest bet, you would agree, is always the S&P. Yeah.
100%.
I mean, you can literally use it like a bank account. Now, you'll be taxed when you get that money out, but like he's saying, you can actually leverage it. So if you throw 100 G's into the S&P, you can actually show, now I've got 180 G's in the S&P, and you can go to the bank and get that in cash, tax-free. And you don't even need to pull your money out. That's how the rich stay rich.
That's how the rich stay rich.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Because you're not actually using your money. You're leveraging your own money, but you know you're going to pay that 180 back. It's no problem.
Anytime I'm spending money, I think ROI is huge. Like, and then also I've made mistakes. And so my new thing is business acquisitions, you know, trying to buy businesses have been around 20, 30, 40 years, successful, or, you know what I mean? So like I have a lot of, you know, sticks in the fire right now that will come to fruition in the coming weeks, months. But, you know, these are things I've been working for years and, you know, before you get into a business, it's very important to understand how much of my time is going to be involved in this business, right?
Time is money.
How much of my money is going to be involved in this? When am I going to start making money back? And then what's the longevity of this business, right? Like, is this a short-term niche where, you know, I'm going to put up 80 grand and I'm going to make, you know, 200 in 3 years, it's dead? Like, I think a lot of people don't analyze what they're putting their money into. And that's where a lot of failure is, you know, like when I look at something, I analyze it huge, especially now that I'm older and I want to retire. And, you know, I'm looking at spending time with my daughter and setting her up to never work again. Like now my money's more important than ever. Like can't fuck up, you know?
Right.
So with all the losses that I've had, you know, this is where I've learned to strategically evaluate the business endeavor that I'm going to get into And I want to be a boss, not an employee. You know what I mean? So like I've reached a point where I don't want, if I'm buying a business, you know, I can run 6, 7, 8, 10 businesses now because I've learned my business strategy, right? And I think that's very important to learn. Like a lot of people look at me and they're like, you know, how do you do all this? Yes, like my life is not easy, but it's not super hard because I learned the value of people. I've learned the value of business strategy.
Systems.
Learned the power of systems. And they took the words out of systems is the most powerful thing you will build. And it takes a lot of failure and it takes a lot of ups and downs, but learning those systems.
I feel like that's what makes you able to do what you do, though. That right there, you know?
Learning systems. I feel like when a lot of people get successful, there's two roads. I think people get drunk on power or people get inspired by power, right? So your man drunk on power loves to boss people around. He likes everyone to know he's the boss. Or you have people that are inspired by power. Me, like, I don't care if anyone knows I'm the boss. Like, I delegate so many tasks to my employees, you know, like you can't micromanage everything. You can't be 100 places at once.
Not at all.
So that's part of like your systems is, you know, you got to have the right people doing the right things in the right places. And that momentum is, you know, now I'm looking into buying other businesses and starting other business endeavors. And, you know, not much of my time will be involved in that. And it makes sense because of the systems that'll be put in place. I think, you know, that's a huge thing that a lot of people misconstrue where, you know, you can stay stuck, you know.
For
I
sure.
was there for a long time, you know.
You know how many people think my foreman is the owner of the business? Because like he does everything for me. Not everything, but he does a lot for me. He's the one meeting the customers. He's the one doing things. You know, it happens all the time.
That's his job in your system.
Well, yeah, of course. I've got to be behind the computer on the phone. Like those people are talking to me, but then he's the one that shows up.
That's a powerful point. Is I don't think people understand really like what it takes behind the scenes to keep these engines running.
I'm working 12-hour days behind a computer talking to insurance companies, different clients, new clients, setting up estimates, all this stuff, you know?
I get on average.
Seems like it never ends.
This is no joke. I get 100 phone calls a day, 150 texts.
That's not that many. You know what I mean? Like, right. That's what I mean. That's the minimum we probably get on a daily basis.
You know, I think it's funny, like, say I'm in a meeting or something with somebody and my phone, ping, ding, ding, you know, going wild. People are like, how do you deal with that? And to me, it's so normal. It's become my life. I'm like, I don't want to say I'm addicted to the chaos, but I do thrive in it. You know, and it's just become normal. But, you know, I've also lost a lot being addicted to the chaos, being addicted to the work. And you know, the harder I work, the more hours I put in.
More sacrifices. You're losing more, yeah.
Well, not only that, but
family.
that's what I was going to say. Like,
I lost a lot.
how hard is it to actually balance? Because I'll be honest, I suck at balancing working. If this is my business, this podcast, I built this whole studio. I built everything you see here. I this table. I did it all this equipment, all of it. This has been the last 6 months of my life, right? And I put everything in it. And it's so hard for me to separate work and family. If my mind is focused on work, I don't care. Like I'm heading back to work. It's very hard for me to do that.
You have kids?
I have 2 kids, yes.
They're older.
They're older, but yes.
Do your kids care how much money is in their bank account? Or do they care about the quality of time of their dad? What do they remember?
I gave them the time when they were younger. They're older now, like one's 25 and one's 20. You know what I mean? So it's a little bit different. But
on their own.
let's just not even say the kids. Let's talk about the wife, right?
Because
Wife wants time. Wife wants time.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to give it to her because I'm just like, yo, I got so many balls in the air. I'm trying to run a podcast. I'm trying to edit. I'm trying to run a contracting business. Like I'm trying to do some shit too.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to set up for our future.
Yep.
But it's hard for them to get that because it's like, well, you're not spending so much time with me. And it's like, well, we're going to have so much time later on after I get all this shit off the ground because I see that. It doesn't mean she'll see that.
And that's hard. So here's the biggest, I think this is the biggest hurdle like with me with dating or anything like that. Every woman wants to date a successful man, right? And
I'm ready for that shit.
they can date the successful man, okay? But that may mean at dinner that, you know, it's, I can't ignore this phone call. It's, you know what I mean? Can't ignore this text. There is a balance, you know, like it's, yeah, I can take the weekend off. Excuse me. We can go have a good weekend together, but there's still
My phone's still ringing.
people that depend on me.
100%.
There's answers that can't be answered unless I pick up that phone. There's solutions that cannot be solved unless I pick up that phone.
100%.
So, you know, a lot of them want the success. And what woman doesn't dream about living in a big, beautiful house and having a fucking $100,000 wedding and, you know, the white picket fence and driving her little G-Wagon, her Wagoneer, or, you know, what? Every woman, I don't want to say every woman because, you know, you don't want to categorize, but a lot of women want to live the life of success. Right? They want to, but
I'm not disagreeing
it's
with that
hard
at all.
for them to be able to wrap their mind around what it takes and then what it takes, right? Keeping gas and
It boils down to what we said earlier. Everything takes sacrifice, right? So you're going to have to sacrifice some time for me
They can say in the
or
beginning
from me
doesn't mean they're
so
really
that we can spend more time later on. But it's very hard to explain that. And it's very easy for them to say, you're not making any time for me.
and
And I'm not good at making that. Like, if you're going to make me choose between you and my business, I get my business is my baby. I put everything, this has part of my soul in it. Not to say she doesn't, but let's just say, you know what I mean? Like, don't make me choose that course. Okay. I've built something here and I want to see where it can go.
I don't think,
And I think that's a little selfish of me, honestly, but you know, it is what it is.
a lot of people realize the blood, sweat, tears, and sacrifice it's taken to get here, right? And then, like, when the momentum goes, you're a visionary. Like, you know, you want to keep it going.
Mhm.
You know, like, I don't have to have a yacht and I don't have to have the $20 million mansion, but, you know, I want to live a comfortable life where I don't, either say this, right? You can fight about time or you can fight about money.
Mm-hmm.
Which one do you want? You know, and it's, and life is like, this is a double-edged sword and a catch-22 because the old head's going to tell you, you know, you're fucking up, right? I wish I could have done what you're doing now and had more time, right? But he's sitting in a position to be able to do with whatever he wants. And if he
Yep.
didn't make those sacrifices, he wouldn't have the success he had.
He'd still be working as a Walmart greeter. You know what I mean?
To be retired and have the boat and the
100%.
house and the house in Florida and to be fully, right? So it's a super catch-22, and I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. I just think it's about finding the right partner that sees that vision with you, you know, and can sacrifice and you know, roll through those, because it takes a special woman to be with a man like us. It does.
Well, with you saying that,
For everyone.
No.
just imagine the guy has that girl nagging in his ear when he's trying to either start a business or do something. And if he keeps pushing it off more and more years, it's not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. And when a guy has that feeling or when he's supposed to do something, like you said, you know, don't ignore it. You can't stop something because somebody else in the world, wife, it doesn't matter who it is. It's not you.
Yeah.
You're an individual.
I also think as men and individuals, though, it's also important that we grow, right? So, you know, as men, I think it's also important to be able to have a healthy relationship where we know how to communicate. We have emotional maturity, you know, where, you know, we do know how to be a good partner, because I think that's also important too with the time you have. And sometimes, you know, I fuck up with that too. You know, you can be mentally sharp. You can be.
Oh, I'll say I suck at that, dude. I'll be the first one to
A
say
big
that.
thing with that would be communication too. Like, for instance, these past months, I've been working a lot of overnights. Obviously, you know, I've been married for a long time. What does that mean? I'm sacrificing those cuddles. I'm sacrificing that full night of sleep with my wife. So what I tell her is, first of all, winter's coming up. You know, I'm real seasonal up and down when it comes to winter. So she knows what it is, and she's been with sacrifice for years. So it's definitely not easy. But like I tell her, it comes down to communication. If it gets too much and she really needs me at the house, she'll let me know. Everything's off and I'm back at the house, you know?
See, that's a good thing. And, you know, it's, you know, fuck, we've known each other over a decade.
it's nice when you have the person that was with you when you had nothing,
Yep.
right? And now you got it. It's nice to have that person with you because you know she's there for the right
It's genuine, yeah,
I mean,
as much as possible, yeah,
is the best.
yeah.
And I feel like with me, it's very hard.
Oh, I can't even imagine you at this point in your life now.
Not to be cocky, like I've become a high value man, right? You know,
I couldn't even imagine, bro.
if like
Like, how do you even date? What do you do? Like,
high value in monetary, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, like all the things,
all the grandeur
you came to, right?
yeah,
Growth that I've had has come with immense sacrifice. So, most men date who they can. High value men date who they want. And that might sound cocky, but those are the facts. And to find women that aren't obsessed with the cars and the money and this man's going to change my life overnight.
they're definitely out there, but to find them,
No, I found a good one. And it's just hard to also balance the, like I sacrificed a date night to be here, but like, this is important to me. It's not that I didn't want to be with her, but I was privileged to be here. And these are the things that I want to be doing as well.
I appreciate that too.
And,
For sure.
it's tough because sometimes I feel like you're always in a losing battle. You know what I mean? I feel like it's a battle you can't win or lose,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I fucking choking on my own spit over here.
There's sometimes where I just want to be at home with my kids, but I feel like my brain, I have to finish something, and they don't understand that I can't even sit there and enjoy myself because I'm going crazy because I have business shit I need to do.
That's a fact.
And all I want to do is sit there, so
Same with vacations. Like, I have to be in a right place in my life to go on vacation and actually fucking.
or you won't even enjoy it.
I won't even enjoy it. I'll be so, you know what I mean? Like,
Everything invested, just we enjoy it, yeah.
but it's you do got to find that balance. And sometimes I do struggle with that. People have to understand.
I feel like you get better at it too.
Right? That sometimes, though, when you're ramping up, like I said, man, these next weeks, couple months of my life are about to be some of the most powerful of my entire existence. Things I've been working.
Does that mean there's no such thing as balance at all, though? Or can you?
So it's limited, right? I'm not at my full potential. I know that. But I'm not at my full potential as a partner because I'm so focused on the million moving pieces and all the money it's going to take to accomplish these steps to be in an even better position to have a more fruitful life, to be able to take more time off, to be more asset rich, liquid rich, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Sometimes you got to pull the reins back and it's like, okay, this is, we're going into OD.
Yeah.
Things are going to be rough,
Yep.
for some time, but they're going to steady out. But now the roof is higher. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's important. It's important for people to understand exactly what we go through. It's not easy unless you're in it and you've done it, you'll never truly understand it. You'll never get how much money we have invested into this, how much time we've invested into this. I mean, time is worth more than anything on this planet because you only get it as it comes by. Right. And I find it extremely important. Is there anything else you'd like to touch on? Anything else you want to bring to the people's attention about either Second Chance Diner or about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, my stories, I've done a bunch of news articles. My story's out there. I'm, recovering heroin addict. I walked out of a jail cell with nothing. So, I'd like my story to be inspiration that no matter where you are in life, nothing can stop you but yourself.
Yep.
It's important.
If you are truly invested and you are truly confident in yourself and giving up is not an option, you won't fail. And here's the other thing. I think a lot of people are scared of change and risk. Now I've got to my point where like risk is like the fuel to my fire.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like risk is like
It's that different feeling.
high to
Yeah.
like
Oh yeah.
And it's just keep moving forward, keep inspiring other people. And,
I think we've all been through a lot of shit in our life, and we all got a story, but, you know, I don't think any of that defines us. And, you know, open the world's, you know, kind of world's,
You know, your fingertips. There's a million ways to make money.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Pick one and run with it.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing I'll always say is it's not hard to make money. It's hard to keep it, and also to learn how to have your money make you more money.
Yeah.
Right. Making money is easy, but have it making you more while you're making your own. That's the hard part.
Not successful until you're making money while you're
100%. All right, y'all. That was our episode of Grindustry. We had it here with Eddie with Second Chance Diner, me, Travis, my boy Sean. We're gonna go ahead and let Eddie go for the outro on this one. Why don't you go for it, Ed?
Gentlemen, thank you for having me. And this is Grindustry, where the grind meets a strategy, baby.
Thank y'all. We'll catch you next time.
Grind